welcome back to another episode of Riri's Money. I am a cash stuffer, if you're new here, who is based in Canada. I am trying to pay off $50,000 of debt, and so far I've paid close to $5,000 off, which is really, really exciting. I wanted to talk about the reason why I couldn't cash stuff, and the reason was because my company that I work for decided to screw up my pay. I was on medical leave for almost a month. I came down with a respiratory infection, which is believed to be pneumonia. And at my company, we have protections in place so that if you are a full-timer and you do get sick, you can actually go ahead and file for short-term disability. And the company covers it. It doesn't go through the government or anything like that. And all you have to do is your doctor has to fill out some forms. If there are any other specialists involved, then they would go ahead and fill out the forms as well. And it looks like the person who was in charge of my case missed the cutoff. If you haven't done this yet, let this video be your sign to ensure that you have saved up an emergency fund. One of my goals for the year was to actually save up some money for an emergency fund. And I believe my goal was $1,000. And I came pretty close. I had nearly $1,000 saved up, and I still have some other money that is sitting in 2 TFSAs. If you are somebody who is paying off debt, if your job isn't secure, the first thing I would suggest is to set up savings. This is huge. If I didn't have the savings that I had, I would have been in so much trouble. And while I did have to triage a little bit, I didn't have to triage as much as I thought I would. So I was able to pay everything that was due between the day I got paid and the next payday, and nothing was late. With my savings, they were also easily accessible. So the other thing I would recommend is to make sure that if you are going to have your emergency fund, that it is in an easily accessible place. I had my funds available to me in a savings account that, while it didn't yield a lot of return, I could easily just transfer the money from my savings to my checking account and then send the money that way. I do find that when you put money in a TFSA and you withdraw it, it's just silly because of course you get taxed on that. If you are living in Canada and you utilize a TFSA, that is the wrong way to use a TFSA. The idea behind a TFSA is that it would be a long-term investment, and the money that I've put in the TFSAs so far, the 2 TFSAs that I have, is not going to be touched. And the last thing I wanted to just say in terms of being prepared for an emergency is to double check and triple check your finances. I've talked about this in other videos, but in some cases we were overpaying for things that we really didn't need. We had just made adjustments on some of our things, some of our utilities, for instance. We recently adjusted our cable bill, we recently readjusted some of our subscriptions, and we found that we were only using a handful of these subscriptions that we had. We were considering increasing the amount we were paying on our Adobe, for instance, and we realized we didn't need it because all we had been accessing was Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Premiere, which is what I use to edit these videos. If you've had the chance to really sit down and take a look at your financials, that can really go a long way. If you end up in an emergency like I did, and like I said, fortunately, I will be getting that money back. I will be able to recoup those savings. It's just that I needed money to put up front in the meantime to cover myself off while I wait for this paycheck to come in. And I am leaving my job by the end of this week. I will get paid the week after next. It will be a big check, but it always does suck when you're stuck with fewer dollars than you hope to have. Like I said, 3 things. Make sure you save enough money for an emergency, and everybody's amounts are different. Mine was $1,000 because I knew I could make do with $1,000, to just make sure it's in an accessible place. And last thing, of course, is to make sure that you are checking your other expenses so that you can free up some of that money in the event there is an emergency, because we got lucky freeing up our cable bill and our subscriptions. I actually had $100 left in my pocket to be able to put somewhere else. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I've got a few more coming out. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!